Alright, in this video we're going to be talking about our vending experiences last weekend. Hi, I'm Joshua. I run a Pokemon business with my wife Nicole, and this will be our vendor vlog for this last weekend. We actually did two shows, one Saturday, one Sunday, and two different cities, two different locations. So let's talk about the Saturday show first. So we've actually done this show in the past, but last time we did it, it was cold and snowing pretty heavily, so that we didn't get skunked. People still showed up and still bought stuff, but it was definitely a little bit slower. This time it was just cold, so no snow. So we definitely had a good crowd coming in. So lots of people just excited about Pokemon. Basically, we sold a little bit of everything. So just a good amount of singles sold, a good amount of booster boxes. We have some fun little like Chinese card holders that, those sold as well. And then we have some Sleepy Eevees, which are just like super adorable, and sold a bunch of those. So got a lot of people to join the email list. So that was really great. So I'll be inputting them here like pretty soon. And yeah, just a lot of good interactions, definitely good vibes. It's very chill, and I'm very interested in kind of just, again, everything, which was really, really great. Not too much buying and trading again, which was kind of weird. With the last show I did in the area, I had a lot of people selling to me. This time was like almost nothing. So, which is great, because that just means, again, people are just straight up buying cards, but also not great because that's, the primary source of restock. So definitely the case, the binders got all beat up pretty good, and just not a lot of opportunity to like restock. So I did have a couple of good buys, and like one or two like decent trades that kind of helped rebuild everything. I was able to run around a little bit and get some stuff from like another vendor, but yeah, I would say that's like always the number one bottleneck so far for vending. And that's something too I've heard like Jarchomp and other vendors talk about, is their biggest bottleneck for like doing and vending shows is maintaining stock. And how do you do that? And right now, outside of taking in sells and trades, I don't really have a good method of like picking stuff up. So yeah, I can do Facebook Marketplace, but there's a lot of other vendors in the area with a lot more capital that I think anytime that kind of stuff pops up, they jump on it pretty quickly. They're also pretty like insular in the idea that all these vendors in the area like know each other. So I'm definitely like the new kid in school, and not that that's bad. Nobody's been mean or anything like that, but they all know each other, and they've known each other for a while. So they're definitely like, they communicate. There's probably like 6 to 9 of them. You can tell that they either all hang out together, or they all just communicate in their own little whatever. So, and I'm definitely not like a part of that. So yeah, I think that a lot of that kind of stuff gets jumped on pretty quickly. So yeah, that's kind of like my number one issue right now, is finding ways of getting some good restocks. Saturday's show was pretty normal for card shows that I've been doing thus far, and if you picked up on the epic foreshadowing there, Sunday's show was completely different. So it was about an hour away from me, but we're still in Iowa, so we mostly stick to like the east side, and I have done a few things in Illinois, which is great because you totally break away from the whole Iowa crowd. So the Sunday show was just totally different. It was very, very slow, and it was at a county fairgrounds, which is fine. I grew up on a farm, and I've used to like going into that kind of like farm type stuff, steel-sided sheds, you know, gravel everything, you know, park in a hayfield kind of deal. So that was fine, but it started out super slow. And there was, the building is set up, there's a big, you know, a big part of the building, and then like a little front entryway. That front entryway had like 16 tables in it, and then the big building had like everybody else. So I was in the front entryway, so I was one of the first tables you kind of had to walk by. And most, when people were coming in from like, you know, because it's actually like decently cold here right now, when people were coming in, they basically just trucked through into the big building. So there's just 16 vendors that are just literally watching people just kind of zip right by. So that was a little unfortunate. Some people did stop, but again, because you're the first thing that they see, it's a good practice to, when you start, like, you know, when you start a card show, to do a lap, come back, that kind of deal. But what's your deal, man? Okay, cats. So that kind of was a bummer. And I could, you know, you can tell there's, in the big building, there's tons and tons of vendors, and it was, I mean, I could see in there, so it was decently crowded, and which means even for them, like customers and stuff, trying to like navigate and walk through would just be like a pain at various points of the show, because it'd just be so crowded. So you definitely, the idea of doing like a second or third lap, I could see being like, people just run out of stamina of wanting to do that. They've seen the card enough. It's loud, you know, it's hot. In the big room, it was hot, at least in the front entryway, you know, because it wasn't that crowded and it's a smaller room. It didn't get, it got a little warm, but not as bad as the big room. And of course, we had the front door, so every time that baby, like, you know, cracks open, you know, 1 degree weather comes flying into the door. So that at least was nice. There was that. Again, selling singles, definitely not too big a problem. I mean, the case, the binders, they all got beat up pretty well. I only sold like 1 or 2 booster boxes, so that was definitely a bummer, since that's really the goal of the vending, is to build the booster box side of things. So yeah, that was definitely a bummer. But we also got hit up pretty hard on Saturday, so selling out of like Inferno X, selling a bunch of Mega Dream, selling some White Flare, selling some Stellar Miracle. So I still had a decent amount of stock, but definitely not as good as I had on Saturday, just with stuff getting chewed up. But our restocks are coming in. It was one good piece of whatever on Sunday was, I got my tracking numbers, my shipping notifications for my Chinese and Japanese suppliers. So this next week or the week after is going to be a good, week or two of all new stuff coming in. So pretty excited about that. But anyway, so yeah, not a lot of booster boxes going. The card holders, again, sold a few of those. The Sleepy Eevees, of course, those all disappeared because they're adorable. What are you gonna do? One thing I will say is I did pick up some over the last 2 card shows, not the one on Sunday, but the one I did Saturday and the one I did the week before. I have been trying to branch out into bigger cards and maybe a little bit more obscure cards. I've walked around at enough of these shows in this area that we're all trying to move basically modern and ultra modern cards, and we're just really competing on, do you like the vendor and the price? Now, a lot of vendors do have bigger cards than what we kind of have, and that's also like a piece of this that I'm trying to navigate and figure out, is how do I break into bigger cards? Every time I get a big card, somebody usually trades a ton of small stuff into the big card, which again is fine. I talked about this on the last video. I think that's one of the roles of vendors, is to somehow acquire big cards, bring them to shows, and allow people to trade their smaller stuff into the big stuff. So I'm not like saying, not like, you know, griping about that's happening. I'm just kind of sharing the idea that when that happens, I get all the small stuff, fills the binders, that's great, but now I need to now reacquire these bigger cards, and that's the bottleneck, that's the barrier there. So, but I did like get some weirdly obscure things that I just didn't know would move, but I also know I don't see them a lot. So I was kind of crossing my fingers that was going to be a good play. Like there's a Celebi from like the championship, like 2021, I think. So it was like a promo kind of, and then there's like a Snorlax. I don't remember where he's from, but yeah, just trying to get some like a little bit of more obscure things, and just to see how those go. And like one of the first big sales I did on Sunday was like he literally just like, I'll take this, I'll take this, I'll take this. So like a few of these like obscure things, including that Celebi and that Snorlax, like he picked those up. It's like, right, because I kind of walked around at this show, and it's a mix this on Sunday of sports and Pokemon. I would say it was actually majoritively sports, which was surprising. Normally it's the other way around. But yeah, so I mean, I didn't see actually those cards. So even if I wanted to like restock them, I didn't see them there. So yeah, so I mean, obviously this guy like, you know, honed in on, well, these are cool, these are different than what I'm normally seeing, so let's get those. So that was at least good, is you don't want to, that's the gamble, right? If you pick up something like unique or like obscure, you don't want to be sitting on it long term. You are hoping that it'll move. So yeah, so that was definitely at least like a good win. Like I got almost nobody to sign up for the email. So, and it was a straight up like, I did the spiel of like, sign up, give you a free Japanese booster or pack, and I'll send you just notifications of when I get new stuff in, restocks, pre-orders for new sets from Japan and China, like, you know, so it's, yeah, you get a free Japanese pack, I send you emails about Pokemon, and I had a lot of people just straight up like, nope. Okay, good to know. Good to know. But I also get it too. As far as I could tell at this show, no one else was trying to generate an email list. So that makes me the only one trying to start an email list. So obviously not a common practice at shows, which is okay. But I mean, I got, like I said, the show I did on Saturday, a lot of people were signed up, like happy to get a free Japanese booster, because again, free 99 is the best price. But on Sunday, nope. So I don't know, every city's different. Time of year, city you go to, the crowd's just always different. And this crowd, you could definitely tell the show's been going on for a bit. They seem to attend pretty regularly. Everyone kind of knows where to go. I'm gonna guess that they have like their set vendors that they like to go to. So, which is, I mean, that's great. It's great for those vendors that they have a strong customer base, customer loyalty. It says a lot for the people in the area if you kind of just keep going to the same people. But then to kind of be not skeptical, it's definitely not like the word I would go use, but a little, I guess, leery maybe of somebody that they've just not met before. And it's not like this is not like a small town in the middle of nowhere, kind of conservative, you know, fear of new people. This is just that just seems to be what this area was kind of like. So what are you gonna do? That's just how it goes. I would say, like, in the future, if I have a show in a different location, I would definitely probably pick that show over doing the Sunday show again. So, I mean, if I got nothing, I'll go back, try and like slowly work on, you know, copping out a piece of that, you know, market share. But again, with the plethora of shows that there are every single weekend, like I think just this last weekend on Sunday alone, I think there was probably at least 3 or 4 shows to beat that I could have been at. So, you know, including the one I did go to. So there's definitely no shortage of options. So, yeah, definitely interesting. Lots of kids at this, I mean, at both days, kids participating in just the general mercantile of everything. I would say that on Saturday, I had one, I keep getting hit up for trade challenges, and I've watched a ton of vendor POVs, and I've seen it, you know, vendors talking about this on podcasts and stuff, and trade up challenges are weird because you're essentially a kid asking to be gifted something so that you can so that you can keep getting into something more and more valuable as you ask more and more. And obviously it's a straight up loss for the vendor, whoever decides to, you know, participate in that. And with the margins already being so tiny, there's just a level of, if you're looking to like support your family, yourself, by doing something like this, and to kind of have a kid have the privilege of coming up to you and being like, hey, can you take all these low end stuffs and then not only take it at market value, but then go over market because we need to trade up. So that's a sticky whatever. So I get it, you know, oh, do it for the kids, but also I got kids. So you want me to take away from what I'm doing here at a loss to give it to a stranger's kid? That's tough. So what I did was I basically like took, I think it was just a whatever, $2-3 Pikachu V or something like that, and be like, tell you what, I won't participate, I'm not going to trade up for you, but I will give you this just to add to your stack and see if you can, you know, just to kind of fuel your whatever. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I got hit up for trade challenges a couple of times, and yeah, one kid I just had to straight up be like, yeah, I'm not like participating in this, mostly because that's just not how mercantile works. Like I want to work with kids. Like if you want to do an actual trade, we will do that. If you want to participate in the mercantile of this, I will absolutely do that. Even if it is for ridiculous things. But to just do a straight up trade up where I just give you something for free, that's not real life. So I don't think, I understand it's fun, it's for entertainment, but also like there is this industry, and this is something too that I think is super fascinating, is ripe for teaching how to participate in good classic economics, you know, supply and demand, and learning how to sell things, which is the heart of monetizing your life. You have to monetize your life in some way. And Pokemon cards is just straight, it's unregulated, it's just classic mercantilism. And I think that teaching kids how to participate in that would develop skills that would be useful throughout life. That's my take. So trade up, getting stuff for free, that's not participating in learning those skills. So yeah, I mean, what's interesting is then when a couple kids then become when they return, like on Saturday, there's one and she kept coming back, and she did keep escalating. So after I said no to the trade up, because she was giving me like just commons and like, you know, reverse hollow commons, which is like, yeah, I got a ton of these. I won't participate in this, but like, she eventually came back around. She got money and she bought this, and then she got, you know, whatever, got more money somehow, traded that. I don't know. She's going to bank of mom and dad or whatever, but so actually getting her to participate in trade me something into something else. Don't just ask for stuff for free. So, and eventually I saw her running around actually kind of sort of participating in that. And I think she seemed genuinely more enthusiastic about it, because you get the vendors to also want to participate in this with you. If you're gonna just play the game, like, play the game. Don't make up a new game where you beg for stuff for free. So yeah, so she had like some good success. You know, she bought a pack for me. She got an IR. She ran back over, showed it to me. You know what I mean? So we shared the excitement of, you know, her getting an IR from a Japanese pack that she bought for me. Awesome. That's what it's about. Yeah, lots of kids trying to trade into stuff on Sunday as well, which is always super interesting. Some kids have, like, obviously, you know, just the classic beat up binder. Some kids got some crazy good stuff. Like, they got a better PC than I do. So, and again, more life lessons on, like, you're showing up to me with, you want to trade into something. Awesome. Definitely. And you're showing up to me with something that's super obscure, or like a CGC 9 slab, and then you're surprised that I pass. It's like, well, and then in a teachable moment of, if I take this in, now I have to try and sell it, and explaining that CGC slabs just aren't super liquid. So like, PSA is the way to go. Like, if it was a PSA, like, you know, we can definitely work on something, but just taking in a CGC slab means I'm gonna sit on it. I don't want to do that. so a teachable moment in the idea that what you're trying to trade away something you don't want. Now, yeah, you got a CGC something. It was Japanese Dragapult. There we go. It was the Dragapult from Mega Dream CGC 10. So, and I saw he had it stickered. I don't know if he stickered it or if he got it from somebody else. Just stickered it like 220. I don't actually know. I don't check CGC on, plus it's Mega Dream. That's like brand new. So, but I think the sticker on it said 220. I didn't look up the value. I just straight up passed on it, because even though it's a CGC 10, again, explaining liquidity to this kid on, like, this is not very desirable. That PSA, for better for worse, has 95% of this market share. So I gotta try and find somebody who is going to, number one, want a CGC 10 slab, which is possible. Number two, really likes Dragapult. And then number three, really likes Dragapult in Japanese from Mega Dream. We're already niche in a CGC. Now we're just niching down Pokemon. If it's something like, you know, Pikachu, whatever, like Mew, any of the evolutions, all right, we got something to like. It's not that Dragapult is a super unpopular Pokemon, but he is not at the top of stuff that moves. So it was explaining, like, it's not just a pass, it's a pass, and then here's why. So yeah, so he kind of did take that. Obviously, he was disappointed. He was hoping to, you know, trade into, I think he wanted to get a booster box or something like that. And yeah, it just didn't work out. And he was disappointed, but he got an explanation. And then in the future, if you're going to try and do slabs, try and get PSA. You will have a better time trying to move those than doing CGC. I get CGC is cheaper usually, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be better for you to try and move it. So I don't know if that sank in or not. What I can say is I do recall that kid coming back like 4 times. He would buy, he was working the whole thing, and he had older siblings along as well, but they were those siblings were doing a good job. They were letting him do his thing and learn how to take no, try and make good deals. So he was definitely working on the skills of participating in the mercantilism of Pokemon cards, which I had to respect. I do recall him coming around like 4 times. I do recall me mostly saying no, because he's just bringing me stuff I just don't want, or I just don't want to trade my stuff away for his stuff. And I think he was after a booster box. I'm pretty sure he was after Mega Dream. And eventually he showed up with cash, 110, and he bought the box. And I think he earned that cash by working the room for several hours. And so it was one of those, like, you could tell when he showed up for the last time, he's like, all right, I got cash, 110. Like, what are we getting? He's just like that. So I'm pretty sure that's what he was after. And you could see, like, right, here's the reward. You've been working for it. You've been working the room. You've been, whatever you've been doing, trading, buying, retrading, like whatever he's been doing the whole time. You can tell he didn't have the 110 when he started, but near the end of the show, he had the 110, and then he was able to get the thing he wanted. Those are the skills with all that learning you just did. And then that's your reward of you got to where you wanted to go by, participating in the thing. So it was, a win. Because I recognized him. I saw him there, the whole coming back to me and stuff, and it was a big win. And then and I even got to be like, all right, like we did it. You know what I mean? Like whatever you were doing, you got the win. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, I would say, like, definitely a lower end show. This is not our best show that we've ever done, but it's just some interesting moments for sure. And then near the end, I did do a little run around where I try and like restock from vendors and that kind of deal. And one thing I noticed was I try not to beat up vendors like too badly. So I try, and when I buy from other vendors, just either go straight, or I try and do like 90%, so it's pretty close to market. And normally I would say I have pretty good luck on doing that, just doing 90%, and I always wait to the end of the show. Like if I pick up $100 worth of cards and I offer you $90, like we're pretty close. So for the most part, I get people to like, why not move this for an extra, 90. So especially if it's stuff like you just haven't been moving or whatever. But so I noticed at this show 2 things. Some of the, I don't want to say older, I will say older because I'm old. So vendors that were older are definitely like, I think they get it. They see the big picture when it comes to vending, when it comes to singles, when it comes to the interactions, the relationships you build with other people. They get it. So when I come up and be like, here's whatever, 90, or here's $100-ish worth of cards, basically I offer you about 90%. And older vendors are like, sure, because they've made their bag on it. If they took it in at 70 or 80%, to me to go to 90, you're still making 10-20%. It's not the end of the world to lose $10. It's not that big a deal. That $10 means more to me than it does to these guys. Awesome. Younger vendors though, and this is the thing I learned, was not open at all to 90%. Very, very very strict on sticking to their sticker price. So, and I appreciate the hustle, but that I want to squeeze every dollar out of cards up into, we're not even going to go to even fives. We're going to go to singles. So if it's, I offer you $90, I go to 95, they go to 98. So it was as strict as that, where like, yeah, you're basically offering me like maybe $3 off of 100-ish. I mean, it varies. It's not always an even 100, but it came around to kind of like that. Now, unfortunately, because I've been doing so much selling, I just need cards. So a couple of deals where I had to turn down, because it's like, it's basically market, man, like, which is fine. You will probably sell these cards at market, so like, I'm not insulted at all. Like, it doesn't bother me, because I have the right to say no. But it's just an interesting observation that I made, was at the end of the show, you're still sitting on these, and they're probably desirable cards. You'll probably move them at your sticker eventually, but I'm offering you 90%, and it's just a straight no, and then the counter offer is like 95% almost, or higher, which is kind of wild. I'm not saying, again, but that's the give and take. They have the right to do that. It's their cards. So, but just an interesting observation of how, when you're older, how you approach this business and how you approach your relationships with other people, other vendors, versus when just you're younger, and then kind of squeezing like all the dollars out of, every single card. I kind of bring that up because I've heard other vendors also talk about this. Vendors who have been in the game for a while or have done lots of big shows, so they do lots of big deals, talk about that being really strict on your negotiations is kind of a young man's or a new person's kind of path, I guess I'll say. I don't know quite how else to say it, but so definitely interesting. But it is what it is. I have the right to say no or yes to deals, and I just need the cards. So I said no when I thought it was just too close to market. I said yes when it was like, I guess, good enough. So I just need to restock. So definitely a bummer, but it is what it is. I guess one thing too I noticed is there are a lot of new vendors in general. So, when I'm at somebody else, and just, if I know I haven't seen them before, or they just seem like they're kind of fresh, I just ask like how long you've been. And lots of people, like, it was my second show vending, and like, I get it, because I was just there like, not even 2 months ago. So like, I get it. But that's interesting, is that the vending experience is expanding. So, which is interesting, because at some point you're just going to oversaturate an area with vendors. So there's just only so much market share in any given area, and that you can only sustain so many vendors. And at some point, this will just be natural economics, basically, is that as long as demand exceeds supply, you can have more vendors. When the supply starts to overtake demand is when you'll see vendors start to drop off. And that will be the critical point on your bell curve of when you decide you're going to quit vending, because it became too hard. And my understanding is, watching all the vendor POVs over the last year and stuff, last year was easy. You could just set up and everything you had sold, and everything you had sold at good prices and the prices kept rising. We saw a slump in the last couple months, and now we're back to stuff is still selling, but I'm not, because I don't know. I wasn't vending last year in January, February. I don't know how it was. My understanding is that it was pretty good. I don't know if right now is as good as it was, but at some point you will exceed the amount of vendors you can have in any given area, and so all these new vendors jumping on. Yeah, so basically just an interesting observation of the current state of the vending, like in my area, new vendors, and how long can this area sustain new vendors, because eventually we will oversaturate with the amount of people trying to participate in these shows. So yeah, just an interesting anecdote, I guess. All right, well, I think that's it regarding vending. I'll be doing my business update after this one, and yeah, thanks everybody for watching. If you want to check out our website, monstermodstudio.com, pick up some Japanese and Chinese booster boxes, we definitely appreciate it. And if you want to join our email list, there's a link on the website as well, so you can get notifications of when we get new stuff, get restocks, and we're doing pre-orders on stuff. So I do have the Nile Zero coming in. I'm super excited about that set, so if you want to pick some up from us, we definitely appreciate it. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Have a good day.